Empower Radio presents The Miracle of Healing with Lisa Campion. Meet healers, learn different modalities, and hear empowering stories of people on their healing journey. The Miracle of Healing on Empower Radio. Here's your host, Lisa Campion.
I'm Lisa Campion, and this is The Miracle of Healing on Empower Radio, where conscious people come together to explore the world of healing and heal the planet, one person at a time. Today, I'm super excited to have a wonderful spiritual teacher and healer, Bob Lancer, with us to share his very powerful method of healing called the Method. And Bob's very interesting guy, really walks his talk, and it's such a powerful way. He's a full-time spiritual teacher, coach, healer, speaker, and an author for nearly 4 decades. And in his one-on-one phone coaching, he uses this process for freeing our energy from our blockages to love, joy, and abundance that he calls the Method. He also draws on his deep studies into the Kabbalah to facilitate healing, spiritual growth, and living your true purpose in the liberation of the true self. And he's written a few best-selling books: Lighten Up, Harness the Power of Happiness to Create the Life You Want, Parenting with Love Without Anger or Stress. He has these Kabbalah cards, a set of divination cards based on the Kabbalah Tree of Life, and the Soulmate process, finding the love of your life through the deeper wisdom of the Kabbalah, Tarot, and the Natural Order process. So welcome, Bob. I'm so happy to have you on the show.
Oh, I'm absolutely delighted, thrilled, and honored to be with you tonight.
Well, I really am too, and it's such an unusual connection that we have, Bob, because I don't normally have this experience with my guests, but you contacted me a while ago before we when we agreed to do the show, and you said I'd love to try my method with you, just so you know what it is. And we did that, and it was so good and so powerful and so meaningful to me that we kept going. So I have the personal pleasure of working with your material and can speak directly about how powerful it is, how powerful it's been on me, just even in the short time that we've been working together.
It has, since I've been using it for years now, and with the people that I work with, I'm always amazed. The reason I call it the Method is because it actually works. When I discovered it, it was the missing key for living the wisdom teachings that we all want to be able to follow. But we get stuck in these reaction patterns. We know it's not a great idea to think negative, but if you pay enough attention to your thoughts, you find out you get stuck in compulsive negative thinking loops. We know that, we want to have faith and believe everything's going to work perfectly, but we find ourselves feeling worried or feeling inadequate. And so until I found the Method, I really didn't have the key to free energy so that we can actually live this stuff and use the powers of consciousness to create the life we want. The Method works. It frees people from traumatic patterns. It frees our energy from reproducing the painful, uncomfortable, emotional patterns and thought patterns that are preventing us from living a life of total joy, total abundance, total love, total perfection.
That all sounds so awesome, and there's always that skeptical part of me that's like, yeah, we can't really do that when we're human. Like, we have to die and become enlightened in order to get to that place of total peace. And I think that just even the short time that I've been working with you, I've seen such a shift in my perspective.
Well, just that thought alone. I mean, what we have to do is we have to evaluate our thoughts, right, to see how they're working. So it's a real common thought for people to say, well, I'm still a human being. That doesn't sound possible. And so the question is that thought really working for you? It's like people trying to protect themselves from experiencing perfection. They're afraid of getting disappointed, so they live with disappointment a priori. When you recognize a thought that limits your experience of perfection, let it go. That's the misuse of thought. Thought is a tool. And when we use thought properly, it facilitates our expansion of joy and love and fulfillment. But when thought uses us, that's like any kind of tool, like a chainsaw in control of you, and it becomes destructive. So we're meant to evaluate, to recognize what we're thinking, evaluate it for how it's affecting us on a feeling level. And if it's not working, then we let it go. Now, what the method is about is helping us to get more conscious so we recognize those limiting thoughts. And then it's a process for withdrawing our energy from empowering that thought so we can live in a thoughtless state of joyful perfection. Perfection is a feeling. If you start going into your thoughts to try to figure out how things are perfect or imperfect, you'll feel a blockage in your feelings. When you let go of the thought and trust the feeling of joy and harmony and peace and love within, and depend on that harmonious inner state, that's when the magic happens. That's what we call playing the big game. That's when the fun happens, because all sorts of beautiful things just spring up spontaneously, but it does require the courage to take a leap into a life of joy instead of depending on pressure and tension and insecurity and frustration. A life of joy
So,
is in your
how
feelings.
did you discover this method, and can you tell us more about the steps that are involved? Like, what is it exactly?
Oh, well, I mean, I discovered the method when it was the darkest period of my life. I have been a spiritual wisdom teacher and author, and now we call it a coach. For since I was 21, which is when I started working with my spiritual teacher. So that's about 4 decades now. And I developed a tremendous amount of creative energy, creative power, the ability to manifest everything that I desired. But I would still experience these states of depression and anxiety, particularly when it came to money, and even more so when it came to a romantic relationship breakup. That somehow was the trigger that always sent me into the pit of despair, and my tools just wouldn't work. I didn't know how to get out of it. I'd be stuck in it. And several years ago, I went through a very extremely excruciating, painful divorce. If it had been any more painful, I wouldn't have been able to live through it. I was really on the brink of just constantly surrendering my life to God because it just hurt too much to live. And nothing was working. I practiced my mindfulness. I did everything I knew, just allowed myself to feel it. I couldn't get out of this literal experience of hell. I actually would believe at times that I had died and was in hell now. That's how
Wow.
painful it was. And but I just kept going forward, and something led me to open up a book. And I opened up the book, and I just my eyes fell on a page, and I read something written by somebody, and it had a funny feeling inside. And I reached out to this person, and I told him what I was going through. And he was an old man in his 90s, and he said, I know what you need, and I can give it to you. And I just knew, just on a vibrational level, that this was the real deal. And he guided me through a process that was similar to the method. I've adapted it and refined it to work for me in my own ways. And just as you experienced, Lisa, the first session, boom, I was blasted from agony into bliss. And I immediately knew that it was my life purpose to share this with the world, because this was the missing key to all of my teachings. It was the missing key to my life. It's the missing key to, as far as I'm concerned, to the teachings out there. Maybe there are other methods. Nothing has ever worked for me. And the method works, as you know, within 10 to 15 minutes, you have this shift. Now, all of our negative or painful emotional states and self-sabotaging thinking, those have deep roots. Those have been programmed into us at a very deep level. So many times we have to go through the method many times to free our energy from feeding those patterns at deeper and deeper unconscious levels. But what that means is that the human being has an infinite capacity for joy, an infinite capacity for love. And so we just keep using the method to free energy from those lower states of consciousness that hold us hostage. And
Yeah, and it's tricky because like we don't always. I think it's like layers of the onion, like we don't always know that that's in there, and that it's like I think it's you've figured out a way to like deeply access these subconscious patterns that we have that we're still running that make us really miserable.
yeah, and that's the whole purpose of life. The whole purpose of life is to bring you events that cause whatever lower level pattern is inside of you to rise up into your consciousness. And so when that pattern rises up in your consciousness, you use the method and it frees you from that lower state, from that painful state. So life will take care of it. You don't have to seek suffering. Life will give you the exact experience you need to recognize what's coming up in you that you need to release using the method. And it's an ongoing process. And the more you use the method, the more joy you experience. And joy is the name of the game. We are meant to enjoy every single moment. If you're not having complete fun right now, it's because of how you're living in the moment. It's not because of what's really going on. And as we recognize the patterns that are diminishing our joy, we can let them go with the method, and then more joy floods in. And then the big game is when you make the decision to trust a life of joy. That no matter what happens to me, I'm not going to rely on anything less than inner peace and joy and love in that situation. I'm not going to step a beautiful vibration. That takes a lot of courage. But when you make that step, that's when the miracles unfold.
That's amazing. What can you run us through it? Can you give us a sample of what happens?
Sure. So, I guess we could just do it with every listener who wants to go through the process now, right?
Sure.
So, the first step is, and even if you're not in a severely emotionally uncomfortable state, you can use the method to open up to more joy. So what this is I'm going to guide your feelings. This is not a mental meditation. This is a feeling process. So just do the best you can to go with the feelings. Typically on a call, I'd have more time to explain it, but we'll just go with it now. So just open up to your feelings. And notice what that means to open up to your feelings. Whatever you're experiencing right now on a feeling level, open your heart to it. Allow your feelings to come in. Don't even try to label them yet. Just let whatever you're feeling come in, no matter how painful it is, even if it feels like it's numbness or nothing or whatever it is you're feeling, allow yourself to feel your feelings and recognize that what you're doing right now is how to live from this point forward, to never push your feelings down, to always open up to your feelings, because your feelings are your guidance system. They tell you what you need. So now as you feel your feelings, if you're feeling anything painful, any sort of sense of loss or inadequacy or insecurity or anxiety about anything, even considering the world affairs, at some point we can talk about how you use the method to solve global problems. So whatever it is you're feeling any kind of concern about, just feel that feeling. Feel it as deeply as you can, as fully as you can. Now we're going to shift. Normally we take a little more time, but we're just going to shift now to the next step. And I want you to do the best you can to feel love for yourself. And when I say feel love for yourself, I don't mean love an idea of yourself. Don't think about yourself. Get in touch with your feeling of love. Usually we send our love outward. I want you to send your love inward and just try to feel love for yourself. As you take a nice deep breath, just feel love, your love flowing into you to the best of your ability. This is a new muscle you may be exercising. Now, the next step is to imagine a space opening up inside of you. Imagine that space expanding until it's as big as the universe. Step inside that space and feel filled with divine energy. I realize we're moving quickly, but this is just to give you a taste if you can follow this. You kind of have to be an experienced meditator to be able to go through these steps this quickly. So just feel the sense of divine energy, whatever you're feeling. Imagine this is actual, real divine energy filling you up. And imagine that divine energy filling up the space you created. And now imagine the whole universe is completely filled with divine energy. Do this on a feeling level. Feel divine energy being infinite and all there is. Now we shift again, and we shift into feeling value for yourself. And I want you to feel towards yourself that you are precious and sacred. If I gave you something you really treasured, I want you to feel that way towards yourself. Express towards yourself, I treasure you. You are precious to me, not in words, not in thoughts, in feelings. Feel the sense that you are sacred. When you're really in love with someone and they show up, you feel that this is a sacred, holy moment. I want you to feel that way towards yourself, that you are sacred and holy and precious. Feel that to the best of your ability. This is a powerful, powerful muscle that you're exercising right now. When you feel valued enough from yourself, you'll experience everyone around you treating you as more valuable. If you don't feel like you're being treated valuably, It's because you lack a feeling of value for yourself. Now, I want you to become aware of your gifts and talents that God gave you. Whatever you're naturally good at, whatever you're naturally gifted at, whatever you do for the fun of it, whatever you do for the joy of it, that's what you're born to do. That's how you fulfill your place in the universe. That's how you support the perfect plan of the universe, by expressing your gifts and talents with joy and love, not by judging them as not good enough. Just feel that sense of appreciation and gratitude for your gifts and talents. Now imagine that you're sharing your gifts and talents with everyone in the world. Do this on a feeling level. We call this inner world marketing. Imagine the feeling of connecting with everyone on the planet, serving them with your gifts and talents, fulfilling your purpose in their life, and experiencing their love and support in response, as if all of your relationships are perfect. Now feel that translating into a state of absolute abundance. Feel the sense, feel the reality that there's no separation between you and the infinite resources of the universe. All the power, all the beauty, all the love, and all the intelligence in the universe is connected to you. You're part of it. You're right there. So feel that sense of infinite abundance. Feel what it feels like to be infinitely wealthy. You have access to whatever power, whatever money you need. Any feeling of lack or limitation is based on imagination. We're talking about reality. We're talking about physics right now. Give yourself that feeling of total abundance. And finally, for the last step, feel the sense of surrendering all control of your life to the universe with complete trust that God is love, God is in control. Feel like you're placing yourself in the loving arms of the divine. Let go of all attachments. Let go of all need to control. You don't have to figure anything out. You can just completely trust that the universe is sacred and it's your safe haven for eternity. Feel that sense of surrender and relaxation as you take a nice deep breath. Hold your breath for 3 seconds as you feel that surrender, and then exhale, feeling complete trust, letting go of all control. Your only job is to enjoy what is. That's the method.
It's so beautiful. I feel better just having even though we went through it quick.
Yeah,
Um, I
I've gone
I
through it.
feel like so
uh,
much at peace right now.
Yeah, I've gone through it like prior to going to like an important meeting. While I'm driving, I've done it. It takes less than a minute, and it creates that shift.
So tell us more about the shift. Like what can happen? What can we expect when we do this?
Okay, so the big effect that you can count on is this, and this is my 100% guarantee. You will experience yourself being born into an entirely new universe. You'll be born into a universe of absolute perfection where you have no problems, you never have to work hard, there's nothing you have to worry about. That's the internal miracle that takes place, and it's profound, and it's beyond description. But as that's happening, all of these external miracles start to unfold, and you discover that all the things you thought you should be having in your life, like the kind of relationship, the kind of people, the kind of money, the kind of work you should have been doing, that feeling like, yeah, this is what's really meant to be, it all just starts happening for you. And the game gets bigger and bigger, and you learn that the only challenge is losing your fear of how wonderful it becomes. Because when things start to really happen in a powerful, wonderful way, you start to experience anxiety that you're going to lose it or blow it. You use the method to free you from that anxiety, and that opens you to endless abundance of experiences on all levels. And the universe just opens up more and more into this divine and heavenly place. And as you do it, you're literally doing what I call spiritual or enlightened activism. As you practice using the method on your own issues, you're freeing people from the chains, the enslavement to the negative patterns that were developed in their own childhood, even through severe trauma, because we're all connected, and you're unlimiting their potential as well. So you're solving all the problems on the planet at the same time. If it sounds too good to be true, drop the idea that anything can be too good to be true. That idea is not serving you. You must live in the belief until you let go of it.
Yeah, I think that's really the challenge is, you and I have talked previously about the addiction the mind we have to our mind, like to our thoughts and to the negativity of our thoughts. And I think that's for a lot of people, just the idea that they could be happy seems so foreign.
Yeah, and that's an idea that we have to learn we have to let go of, and using the method you can. See, once we have the method, there's no more excuse for unhappiness. Most people have mastered how to live miserably, how
Right.
to be unhappy and burdened and stressed out. Now it's time for the human race to learn how to live in joy, to learn how to live in unconditional love, to learn how to live in this incredible, blissful peace that is natural to you as you release your energy from creating the patterns that diminish it.
Do you have an example from your own life or from somebody else that you can share of what's happened when in using the method?
Well, one of the earliest experiences, one of the first people I ever worked on, she was going through an experience where her husband had been extremely depressed for several years because he had lost his job. He had been really into spirituality and metaphysics, and suddenly he lost his job and he lost all of his faith and he became completely depressed. And he wouldn't even touch her. He wouldn't look at her because to look at her meant that he was giving himself back to life. And she had made the decision after a couple of years of this that she was going to divorce him, but she felt she couldn't do it while he was down. She thought he'd commit suicide. And so she came and we had one session over the phone. And we traced this back to the problems she had with her mom. And in one session, she felt completely free of any concern, any pain. He comes home that day. He looks at her for the first time. He really looks at her. They make love, and he finds himself employed very quickly.
Wow.
So when you make the changes within, sometimes the changes outside happen immediately. But even if they don't, it doesn't matter, because whatever your life challenge is, the only problem you have with it is how you feel about it. And there's nothing to worry about. Your abundance is guaranteed. Your success is guaranteed. Your incredible love life is guaranteed. Your joy, fulfillment of purpose, guaranteed, right? And the reality is you'll discover there really is no death. Everyone who's ever lived, their energy, their consciousness is spreading throughout the entire universe forever. There's no separation between life and death. So the 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 changes in your consciousness are beyond belief, beyond description. It's like trying to describe color to someone who's never seen. The changes are so miraculous, but the immediate changes, free from suffering. Within 10 to 15 minutes, you can experience freedom from despair, freedom from hopelessness, freedom from feeling unworthy and undeserving within 10 to 15 minutes. That's
It's
all
true.
it is. Going,
I can tell you that it's true because it's
yeah,
been true for me in working with you.
yeah. So it's a blessing.
It is. So, how can people get in touch with you? How can people find your work
Well,
and access this
there's
power?
there's one thing I want to say, Lisa, that I have been meaning to say to you on the phone, but this is the time to say. I have had since I have connected with you, I've had the strongest sense that you're some kind of emissary for this work, and maybe you feel it too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge fan of this work, and like, it's just so interesting. Like that, like I said, that doesn't happen to me with my radio show guests. It's not something that I usually but and I really, I've been talking up your work a bunch because I'm so experiencing, and I'm an experienced meditator and spiritual teacher in my own right. Um, so I'm like, I understand what you're saying about how this is the key, that's sort of the
And,
missing
and I
piece,
think I think it was within 1 week of our first session that you were on a radio show and reached 10 million people.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah, a
so
week later I was on Coast to Coast and
so
yeah.
so when I first discovered the method, I knew it was my purpose to reach 10 million people with it.
Wow.
So that happened with you.
Wow, that's
So
amazing.
it's the energy. So just go to lovethemethod.com. That's LOVETHEMETHOD, lovethemethod.com. Contact me. Your first session is complimentary. I'll be happy to talk to you about it if you want to. Just contact me through that website. You'll see my books there. You'll see my books on Amazon. And I'd love to hear from anyone listening to the show who would like to experience freedom.
Wow, Bob, thank you so much for sharing your beautiful work, um, with me and with the world. I'm so happy that you were able to join us on the show today.
Thank you, Lisa. I'm so happy that you and I are connected.
Yeah, I am too. I am too. And if you guys want to connect with me, you can find me at lisacampion.com. Would love to hear from you. Come by and visit. And I thank you so much for joining us today on the Miracle of Healing, where we are healing the planet one person at a time right here on Empower Radio.